Hi, and welcome to the Hornet Radio Golden Record Launch Party. I'm Wade Donahoe, joined today by Elise. And today, here at Hornet Radio, we're going to be talking about if you could choose one song to send up to space to serve as representation to humanity, what song do you choose and why? We'll be getting right to that in just a moment.
Welcome to the Hornet Radio Golden Record Launch Party. Hi, I'm the old guy along with Lily. And Lily, today when we look at things, if you could pick maybe one song to send to space to serve as a representation of humanity, I got to know, what would you choose?
Gosh, well, that's a hard question, but if I had to choose one, I think I would go with Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. Not only is this a song featuring two very notable artists, David Bowie and Freddie Mercury, their vocalists, like they're so amazing, but also I think because the song is about the human condition of pressure and stress and responding to that through love. So first, the song really talks about like, oh, all the stress and pressure that we go through every day from disease to losing jobs and stuff like that, and how that really weighs down on us as humans. And I think that's important to let aliens know so that they're not just like, why do these people suck? Like at least there's a reason, there's a reason why that we are the way we are. But also, we don't respond to that always through violence or by giving up, but like Freddie Mercury, he keeps asking, like calling out for why not love? Like, let's try love and give it one more chance. So at the end of the day, we unite and we try again because we all love each other and we want a better tomorrow.
Excellent.
What about you? What would you choose?
Well, you can see the attire that I'm wearing. So, being the oldest person on this program, I grew up in the days of going to the beach, being a California boy and everything else. And we went from basically rock and roll to hard rock, but there was that transition in between for all us young Californians because we felt like our state was the best. And the group that represented us at the time, I mean, you can look at a variety of different groups around. The Safaris were around back then, but the group that is the most iconic with that era and on as maybe the best rock and roll group or transition group in the history of modern music. I took California Girls from the Beach Boys. It was written by Tony Asher and Brian Wilson. It took them approximately 45 minutes to write the song on it. And when Brian wrote it, he decided to let his brother Carl sing the lead in it because Carl could hit the certain notes that they wanted on it. They felt that they wrote this song in a Baroque style of way. And when you think about it, the harmonics of it and the harmonies that they had going on were probably some of the more complex that you will ever hear in a song like that in the world of rock and roll. And of course, Paul McCartney himself says it is the best song and his favorite song in his library when you look at that song. So I picked it, and I picked it because basically being that California boy and basically looking at what the world would be like because we love to travel. I've traveled around the United States and I've met so many wonderful people that are all different, and you love people because of certain qualities that they bring back. And the song basically does that. It talks about the different qualities of the people that you get to meet around our country. And when you look at it, yeah, it's a love song, but it's a love song that really cares about who those people were and the qualities of those individuals. So when I have to look at it and say, hey, this really represents at least the western part of our civilization. And I think as time goes on, it'll always be one of the favorites for everybody that grows up in the world of Pacific Ocean, Hawaii, and even go up to Northern California and Seattle. Look at them, the old surfer groups. We'll look at it and say, yeah, this represents what it was all about to be somebody who really cared about what went on around us, not only in the surf culture and Southern California culture, but around the entire country. And that's why I picked that a song. Did you pick another song?
I did not choose another song, did you?
I did. Being a Broadway guy, that's right, theater guy right here. I picked Corner of the Sky" from Pippin, and it basically is a song about just not existing because everything has a reason. One of the lyrics, everything has a rhyme. Show me a reason. And that's true of all of us in this room today and around. And I think if we were lucky enough, because I'm one of the guys that does believe in aliens, when they were to come here, I think there will be that thing where the significance of all the different races that meet each other will understand that we all have a purpose. We all have a reason to be here. We just don't want to be alive and just exist. We want to be a reason for living. And hopefully, our reason will help somebody down the road. And that's basically the theme of Corner of the Sky. So when I take the two, it shows both aspects of what I think my life was like. And as long as I live, will continue to be. So that's going to bring us to the end of this part of the Hornet Radio Golden Record launch party, but don't go away because we got other people with their music coming up right after us.
So it's interesting, Jillian, when you look at the golden record, it's something that a lot of people, plain and simple, my age, I'm 28, a lot of people don't know about unless they actually heard it from someone. First time I actually heard about it was from Wade.
Yeah.
And that was earlier this year. When was the first time you heard about the golden record?
Honestly, same.
Okay.
When Wade started to work on their project, I was like kind of interested. I'm a historian. So I was actually working on a Cold War project at the time, so I was like very interested in Wade's process and how they were, researching for their video and the sorts of things that they encountered along the way. It was very interesting to me, like the sort of roadblocks that the researchers on the golden record came to. Like, how do we showcase humanity's, best qualities while trying to maybe steer clear of maybe some of the darker qualities? We don't want to get killed by aliens, I guess.
Preferably not, at least.
Yeah.
At least if that's going to be our first meeting, let's not have it go all Independence Day immediately, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that you were working on a Cold War project,
Mhm.
and then you hear about the Golden Record, which obviously has heavy tie-ins, right? Especially thematically, why the United States, and then also different countries around the world wanted to get this project together. How do you feel that it fit in with the project that you were working on?
It's funny. I was looking at government contracting in the US in the Cold War. So I was looking at NASA and those sorts of government contractors. So NASA was sort of already on my radar at the time. And so it made me think like the sort of, I mean, it's US funded,
Right.
so there's going to be bias. That was my first automatic thought. There's likely going to be US researchers on this project, so maybe there's going to be anti-Soviet bias, or what sorts of reasons does the US government have to fund a project like this? That's sort of what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, it's interesting when you say that. there's a statement that I've heard many times across history because I love history as well. And it's history and how it's told is decided by the quote victors. But you also have to put in history, yes, can be decided, quote, told, right, by the victors, unless you're on the other side. So if
Mm,
you're on the Soviet side, or if you're on, another country side who has nothing to do with that Cold War actively going on, history looks very different. And the way
yes.
that things played out are very different. How themes took place are very different as well than being in whether it be the USSR, whether it be the US, Russia now, and then of course how the US is today. History is very different to people across the world and how that entire timeline played out just based on what country you grew up in.
Absolutely. It's also, what sort of things are people thinking in a given country? So like what sort of themes is the US centering when it comes to human development and history?
Right.
What sort of things are they trying to get across to
Yeah.
aliens? It's going to be very different from, someone in, you know, France or whatever,
Right.
like
Yeah.
literally
Absolutely.
anywhere else in the world.
When you say that, it's you look at the kind of the goals for each of those two programs, right? The US and the Soviets were in a space race. They were trying to get up into space as quickly as possible, get to the moon, get beyond, etc. Their goals were very clearly beat out each other and claim superiority. But then you have places like India, who also made it into space. You have places like Japan, France, that you just mentioned a few moments ago, Great Britain as well. Each of these places had space programs that maybe their goal wasn't to go into that space race, but it was to advance their own technical knowledge, or it was to at least see if they could do something like that. It's interesting when you look at history through that lens because where the golden record comes into play is each of these countries had a different goal with going into space, making contact with possibly aliens, extraterrestrials, and being able to look at each of these presumptively civilizations and saying, we have different goals and we're going to bring a different theme when we're going up into space than the two very clear superpowers of the time.
Yeah. You also have to think like, okay, if the US sent something off to aliens broadly, and then maybe the Soviets sent something off to the aliens broadly, what if those two things ended up intersecting? The
Mm.
same alien species found it. What sort of conflicting narratives are they going to be getting from the different, superpowers at the time?
Yeah.
What sorts of stories are being told? What sorts of songs are included? So it really makes you think about the perspective of, different peoples on Earth.
And I'll tell you what, if an alien ended up getting both of those records from the US and the Soviet Union, they would have a hatred for both immediately,
Oh yeah.
just
Yes.
instantaneously
Yes.
right off the bat.
Yeah.
But as we continue with the Golden Record, speaking of Hornet Radio's Golden Record launch party, that's what you're watching right now. Ryan, along with Jillian right now, as we are getting set to actually talk about our own little facet of what would be the Golden Record for Hornet Radio. So, Jillian, I'll bring it back over to you.
Sure.
You look at the Golden Record, if we were to make it today, what song would you think would be the perfect selection for yourself to be able to send up into space?
So I picked Vicinity of Obscenity by
Mm-hmm.
System of a Down.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
It's
quite familiar.
yes, it's very silly. It's inspired by Dadaism. It's just very absurd. Even fans of System can't even explain to you what it means. I love the absurdity of the song
Mm.
in particular, and how it just captures that like very human interest in, I don't know, just being a goofy little
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I like that in terms of, I guess, representing humanity in a more fun, silly way. Um, I think in terms of the rest of System of a Down's discography, they're very political
Absolutely.
as a musical group, and so I did start to think, okay, maybe like Prison System could be
Mm-hmm.
interesting, but also that's showing a very dark side of humanity. And again, do we really want the aliens to be killing us? First thing,
Yeah. Which is absolutely fair. Because, I mean, if you're making a first impression, right, you got to think of it as if you're meeting a friend for a first time or a significant other for a first time. And your first impression is X, Y, or Z, right? You're trying to put your best foot forward, or are you trying to show a deeper aspect of yourself? So it's how are you going to introduce yourself? And I like that selection because
Yeah.
one thing that I did a little research on people who would send up, songs in the Golden Record, and I did see System of a Down. But unfortunately, I was really disappointed by seeing Chop Suey or BYOB
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what most people are familiar with.
Yeah.
They go to Spotify, they go to Apple Music, they see the top 5 songs and just go, "This is representative of the band." But that's not the case with your song.
I agree. I mean, again, great songs. However, I think that it doesn't quite capture the vibe, the silliness that System tends to have. They oscillate between like this very goofy idea of what music should be, and then Serge, the like frontman, he has a very political message to bring, and so it's I love the marrying of the two that he tends to do. But yeah.
No,
So
for me, I'm a heavy metal person. I love System of a Down. I think it's an awesome selection.
thank you.
Now,
I'm curious about your
I
selection
was I
now.
was about to say if we're gonna stay along those lines, I have War Pigs as the song that I would send there, which is kind of
Fantastic.
different than what we were talking about in terms of we don't want to put our worst foot forward per se.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that you're going to hear a lot of hope, a lot of I know Mark mentioned before just kind of a thought of existence, whether you want to exist, what the entire meaning of existence is. I think you're going to hear a lot of that throughout the entirety of this program. So for me, I wanted to put the worst foot forward. I wanted an alien society to look at us and go, okay, they're not just happy go lucky rainbows and sunshine everywhere. I want them to know that there is problems that we have as a society as a whole across the world. I mean, obviously we have big enough issues in this country alone, but the world itself has issues. And War
Absolutely.
Pigs, to me, is something that I think is representative of that. I think when you look at Ozzy Osbourne's lyrics in that, there's a lot of sense of a man who is just angry at the fact that there are a specific group of people who are sending other people to war, not doing the job themselves, but sending other people to war. And of course, if you look at the timeline of when that song was made during the Vietnam War, obviously a lot of people had that same exact thought. Why are we having to go out there? That song is almost as old as Mark, too. So that's the other big thing. But you look at overall, I think it really sets a theme of not everything is great, not everything are we going to agree with, and there are real points of desperation. There are real points of disagreement with the people who are, quote, in charge here on Earth.
I agree. It almost reminds me of BYOB in that sense. And,
Hmm.
these nations send people to war, and for what purpose, number one.
Right.
And also, number two, why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor?
Right. No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I, yeah.
that's kind of sticking with that theme for me at least, is the fact that I think a lot of what you'll see in history is leaders who send other people who they feel are disposable.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's a really good representation of world history, not just our current history, but just world history and how we have gotten to the point where we are in any stage of society. So that's my thought. Now, I'm curious to see if you have a second song that you want to add as well.
I didn't. I've been a big fan to pivot from metal slash new metal. I've been a big fan of Charlie XCX's
Oh,
Brat.
okay.
So like the entire album, if I could send it up, would love to. But I didn't really have another song to pick. But did you?
I did. I did. I ended up going with Megadeth's Peace Cells.
Oh hell yeah.
So I love Megadeth, Peace Cells. Actually, it was between Peace Cells, Symphony of Destruction, and
Iconic.
then, yeah, there were a couple other from Megadeth. I'm a huge, obviously, huge metal fan,
Yeah.
but I feel like Peace Cells is very straightforward. The lyrics aren't overly complicated. It's just a guy who is displeased with the fact that he has to go through the entire rigmarole that is society when things could be so much more simple.
Yes.
So he's sick of being in the society that he's in. He's asking the government, why are you telling me that I am this way when I've done everything you've asked me to. I've had to go through everything you've asked me to. I've had to pay everything you've asked me to. But yet, you're the ones who are making war. You're the ones who are making these rules and then telling me that I'm the one who's in the wrong.
Yep.
So that's my thought. Peace Sells is my second song.
That's a great song.
I love it. I'm a big Megadeth fan. Not the biggest Metallica fan, but Megadeth would be going up on
That's what I hear about Megadeth fans.
pretty
My
much,
brother's
right?
big into it too.
Yeah. So if you like Megadeth, you're not in love with Metallica, and I want the aliens to feel exactly the same way. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thought. Or at least that's going to be my little angle that I'll give to the aliens.
Yeah, I like it.
So we're gonna keep on rolling here. Again, this is the Hornet Radio Golden Record launch party. Jillian, Ryan, we're gonna toss it to our next group.
Hey, Elise, those were some interesting takes. We had the old guy, Mark, up there with Lily. Lily said some awesome things, I think, Mark. He's just around every now and then. And then we had Ryan and spacing on the name, Julian up there. Very. Are we trying to intimidate the aliens right there? Aside from his quote, I liked his quote. And I'm going to piggyback off kind of Ryan's sentiment with. I think the whole point of this is humans want to leave something behind, and it's what are we leaving behind, right? It's how do we pass a torch to the children so they can hopefully read our messy and sad history. Emotions like anger, fear, sorrow. How do we pass those along? The experience of being human. What does it mean? I think that's, to me, what kind of the core of the Golden Record is.
Yeah, I agree. I actually was finding their conversations very interesting because it does show that, like War Pigs and we have a System of a Down, that despite like some absurdity from like the song of System of a Down, that they also touch on topics such as war. And it's something that I think defines humans. We are a warring species and we will always have a way to find war. And I think that is all like, yeah, maybe it is a little bit like Independence Day. We would probably go to war realistically with any foreign species if we find a way to fight within each other. I think it would kind of almost be like a warning to them. And I think that it's also important to talk about other facets of humanity besides just like the imperialism, because we are more than whatever governments are controlling our societies.
So the art, the culture, all that other
Exactly.
stuff, the stuff that actually kind of, I think, is the purpose of the Golden Record. Let's send them what we can. Let's, I guess, let them know that we like war and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But to get back to it again, I guess let's stop beating around the bush. This is the Hornet Radio Golden Record launch party. So if you could pick one song to put on this Hornet Radio Golden Record, what you picking?
It would be the song "Come Sister Todd" by Adrienne. It's a song from the movie of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Japanese animation. It actually shares the same name as the box song, "Come Sister Todd," "Kom Selget Ru," which translates to "Come Sweet Death, Beloved Rest," and it is my song of choice, the one from the Japanese animation, because it actually talks more about humans' need to be emotional, their vulnerability, and sadness and other emotions that aren't just aggression and something much more vulnerable. It's some it's I think what makes us ourselves. It's the ability to be raw and open and be able to understand when things are affecting us because we are emotional creatures as well as um, very dictated by our environments.
That's awesome.
What would you choose?
I feel like we're on a similar wavelength here. I'm going to go with Everything Is All Right from Motion City Soundtrack, and I feel like it's that similar thing of letting whomever finds this out there know that we're anxiety-ridden creatures that need to reassure ourselves constantly, which is kind of the theme of the song. It's this is what's wrong, and this is what's wrong, and this is what's wrong, and then the chorus of Everything Is All Right. We're one slight inconvenience from a complete mental breakdown as a
Oh,
species.
yes,
Uh,
I
essentially,
agree.
we're a bunch of anxiety-ridden creatures, um, and we do our best day to day to just reassure ourselves everything will be right as we navigate ourselves through the world, and at times through doubt, self-doubt, unsureness, and just try to do our best as we trudge along through life.
Hmm.
Um, did you come prepared with the second song? Because apparently that's the game we're playing.
Yeah, I did not, but I did mention that Calm Sister Todd has the song that it shares with Bach, and interestingly enough, Bach did actually create this musical piece with the intention of expressing the desire for death because it is something that is a taboo. I think it's a taboo, and I think it's something that I would want aliens to know that it's um, we have a very interesting relationship with life and death. It's culturally like especially like as Americans, it's something we don't really talk about. It makes us uncomfortable, but it's um, as a species, and different species. I'm a biologist, so animals always have the drive to survive. They like if there's a cornered animal, if there's a caged animal, or something that is in the presence of being harmed, they will lash out. They will try to fight it. But we are interesting because we let our emotions dictate ourselves to the point that if we don't have the urge to fight, we will be we will actually actively take ourselves out of that situation. Um, I actually wrote a little bit on the theory of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I think I would put that in the record too because it's like at the bottom we have what we need to survive. We have to eat, we have to have shelter, we have to have rest, and then as we go up the hierarchy, it's talking about we need to be um, respected. We need recognition, and we need to have a pursuit of meaning in order to actually have a fulfilling life. If we don't have that, the human psyche is super susceptible and will like fall apart. So I think it's something that aliens might find interesting. It's like, wow, these people are so hardy. They will find a way to adapt to everything, but they can also crumble at the worst
Slightest
moment. Yeah,
inconvenience.
exactly. So, what do you think would be interesting for you to explain to them about like your song and how emotional humans can be?
Um, I think that's it's the just the human experience of it all. The again, everything's all right, reassuring ourselves. Um, I'll tack on another song that I think helps what I think kind of define what it is. And it's going to be "Can't Say Goodbye to Yesterday" from I believe it's Clara White, kind of a melancholy ballad,
Hmm.
and it's um, thematically kind of goes through talking about you can't move into the future without remembering the past. Um, and how your past will always be a part of who you are and that sort of thing. And I think if we're talking about the human experience
Hmm.
and we're sending out something to the stars, and we're trying to let whatever beings find this record as that may, I think that that notion of we're hardy, everything is all right, slightest inconvenience could push us over the edge, man.
Mhm.
And then also, we are our past, and you can't really separate yourselves from that. And we've had a past, um, and so I think that's kind of it. But I think we should probably get out of here. I
Yeah.
think we have at least one more group rounding out this. One more group rounding us out. So this will be it for us on the Golden Radio, the Hornet Radio Golden Record launch party. Yeah. So it's for me. For I'm terrible with names. For
Elise?
Elise, thank you. I apologize.
No worries.
I'm just gonna get out of here. I'm embarrassed now. Everything's gonna be all right, guys.
Everything will be all right.
So, when did we first start talking about what song we would choose, and what was that experience for you?
Well, I mean, it was we were just talking because I was baking. I don't know if I had like taken over your entire kitchen. Like I just remember not to do that. Okay, no, I had taken over your entire kitchen because I was baking. We were getting ready to have like a little traditional-ish English tea party for your mom specifically. And you had asked me that question while we were listening to just whatever music was going on. And it took me a while to really think about the answer because I'm somebody who listens to a wide range of genres and songs. And I remember thinking, like, the first couple of songs that popped in my head, I was like, wait, maybe this one or this one. I remember, like, having that conversation with you and being like, it's been 15 minutes and I haven't even answered what the question is yet.
So you did answer it, but you answered it 15 times for each minute that we listened
Yeah.
to a different song.
I was like, wait, let's think about this one now before I can solidify like my choice. And even now, like I still think about it and I'm like, am I sure about this? Like there's so much that you could put out there that I think is really wonderful. And so I've been thinking about it since August when we had the first conversation. That's something that I have been thinking about. So I have had like 5 months or 4 months to plan for this. So we're sticking to it now.
Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, what song do you choose?
I pick I Am What I Am from La Caja Follies, which is written by Jerry Herman but performed by George Hearn. La Caja Follies is a musical. That musical has so many wonderful songs out of it. It's something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I listened to a lot during my childhood. My dad would always play that for my sister and I. So it has a lot of like nostalgia bearing on it as well. But when I think of I Am What I Am and I think about the actual song, it really is like what I would want to send into space. It's about human perseverance, it's about human strength, it's about being an individual and being unabashedly yourself and being that strong kind of person. And the entire song, when you listen to it, it builds up to that. It starts out slow, it starts out softer. The singer doesn't have the confidence to be who they are. And as it keeps going, there's like this strength and this drive and this I'm growing and going more and more and more. And it's just so wonderful to listen to because it's representative of everybody. Everybody wants to be themselves and who they are. And I think that's what I would want to show to the aliens is how strong humanity is and how much we can persevere through and how much we can push through. And I know that the others, namely Jillian, was putting out there of like vicinity of obscenity. And I think that that song is wonderful. And you talk about what, metal music means to the culture and to the world. And I think that everything has its place. But when I think about humanity and I think what I want to represent the individual and I want to represent our individual strengths.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, no, I just want to kind of continue on with what you're talking about there because, and I'm glad that you brought up Jillian and Ryan's conversation because the song that you chose and like the power that they're kind of projecting out there, it's not this kind of like, I'm the big superpower, you're going to like submit under me. It's more like a power within like your own confidence, a power within your own self that you can like stand up and be like, this is who I am. I'm not afraid of who I am and I'm not afraid of like anyone else. But it's coming from like a good place. It's not coming from a place of like, just a good vibe rather than a bad vibe for like a trying to put it very succinctly, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's not a power grab. It's not about like trying to overthrow something or be the negative in any sense. It's truly about someone's individual strength. It's truly about somebody saying, I am what I am. It needs no excuses and no longer. And if you watch the musical, there's further context to this, but you can pick it up. You can glean it right from the song itself. Like the singer is not allowing himself to be shoved in a corner anymore, to be pushed against anymore, to be said, this is how you fit into society anymore. And that's why I'm like, I think that is something that even though maybe some people won't always admit it, that's something we need to hear, and that being an individual self is okay, and that's what we should always strive to be, in my opinion. And like, I think that's very human.
Yeah, that is extremely human, and I love that. I think then another very like earnest and like boiled down part of like humanity that I think goes into the song that I chose, which was Lover You Should Have Come Over by Jeff Buckley. I think that, obviously the self-love, this is more of like love for others and like yearning for connection. This is a big yearner song. And I think that it's just absolutely beautifully composed, beautiful lyrics, and just the entire package. It is like your song, how it builds up. It kind of starts slow and then it swells and it has like that really big climax at the end. Lover You Should Have Come Over does the same thing. To me, it's kind of cinematic, especially with the lyrics. It opens with seeing a funeral, and then it goes into just a lonely night with a man who realizes how lonely he is, how he's put himself into this situation, and how much he wishes, despite everything else, that he could have this connection with another person. And I think that that also is kind of like what humans have been doing with all of this like space travel and space exploration. We are so obsessed as a society with aliens and with the idea of us not being alone and there
Yeah, like
being
humans don't want to be alone.
yeah.
They want to have somebody out there to say, this is my person that I either come home to every day, or somebody that I connect with, or somebody that I understand with. And unfortunately, as far as we know it at this time, we're alone in space.
Mhm.
Seems illogical. So hopefully there's aliens out there that we can send our music to. But, at the time right now, there's nobody here with us. We're just humans all together, and that's all we have.
Yeah. And I feel like that it's, coming back to like those lyrics and like, it, in spite of everything else, that yearning, that real like kind of like not uneducated, but just like that almost just wanting something so bad, even though everything is really pointing to the contrary. And I think, like you said, that is literally us with aliens at this point, because like, are they real? Are they not? We don't know. Um,
There's got to be something
there's
out
got to
there.
be
I mean,
something.
there's got to be something out there, hopefully.
But yeah, okay. You had a second song, I know.
Well, I would like to bring up the why I have a second song.
Yes.
This was another thing that stemmed out of this conversation. So when I had presented to Wade originally that I picked the song I Am What I Am, and I was talking about all the reasons why, and I'm like, this is why I love this song. Wade then said to me, well, what if the aliens don't speak English? And I was like, oh, that's a wonderful point. How are we going to present something? How are we going to show something off? How are we going to say, this is how I feel? This is what humanity is represented with, if they don't really understand it? So that led me thinking about orchestral pieces, classical music, instrumentals, and it made me like latch on to the song Perfidia, as done by Xavier Cugat, who is a classically trained violinist and arranger. And Perfidia as a song does have lyrics in it, but this one specifically does not. And it's just his orchestra, and it's beautifully, beautifully done. It opens with the sound of the violins, and I always, like, as soon as I heard it, I thought, oh my God, this sounds like Twinkling Stars. So I think if anything that relates to space is going to be, you hear the beauty of the violin and how it can represent what space sounds like. But the whole song kind of does that, because I think the whole song is representative of the earth. You can hear the oceans and the chords. You can hear the earth and the trees and the birds and the animals. And I think it's very beautiful. And the melody itself is very beautiful. And if you know the song is again about love. So again, big yearner over here apparently. I'm picking all the songs about love and humanity and connection. But it's so well done. It makes me think, like, that's the kind of thing that I would want to put out there for somebody else to hear. For somebody who doesn't know me, who doesn't know humanity, for the aliens out there, I would want them to hear it and think, this is how they see themselves, this is how they see the earth that they live on, and it's just filled with love.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going off of, choosing something like I had said previously, like, oh, what if they don't speak English? What if they don't know what we're saying and it's just like gibberish or whatever, like Simlish to them? And so then I also chose another instrumental song, which is Willow Crest by Buddy Rich. And different than the ones than you and I had previously chosen, like our other picks. This one is more fast paced. It's not rushed. Buddy Rich is like a famous, world renowned drummer, jazz drummer. And this song is really beautifully put together. It's fast paced. And like how I said with my other pick, it's very cinematic, and I think that Lover You Should Have Come Over has like more of the 3-act structure. It starts slow, there's a bit of exposition, then you get into the rising action and blah 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 blah. And then I think that Willow Crest specifically is more like it starts kind of in the middle of a story. It feels like almost a montage, just to keep with the film lingo, I guess. Um, and I just there's not really a specific vibe that I get from this song other than the tempo and the rhythm of it, which I think also is another thing that I never brought up with you, is whether or not they can actually speak English. I'm wondering whether or not they can actually hear music the way that we do. What if they only can like sense like actual like sound waves? What if they don't hear it, but they can like feel it tactile instead? And then I feel like having an instrument like the drums and having a song that's like kind of centered around that would be a good alternative pick to also add on there just in case.
Well, I hope the aliens can hear normally for mine. But that being said, I think that's a wonderful reason. And as somebody who's listened to Willow Crest too, I think that it's a wonderful choice. It's jazzy, it's fun, it's lighthearted, but it's like you said, you're feeling that, like the drums and everything with it. So you're feeling that, you know, maybe you're not hearing the sounds, but you're feeling the vibrations of it, and you can kind of feel that warmth come out of it.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that ultimately brings it back to all of our choices, is wanting to kind of put out warmth, yearning for that connection, whether or not it's literally talking about connecting with others or if it's just sending out a good vibe. But yeah, I think that that's all that we have talking about our picks here. But just so that you can kind of remind yourselves here, this is Hornet Radio's The Golden Record Launch Party. Answering the question, if you could pick one song to send up to space to serve as representation to humanity, what song would you choose? And thank you so much. We'll get right back to another segment after this. Well, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Hornet Radio Golden Record Launch Party live stream. And stick around. Right now, I just want to give a special thank you to our producer, Becky, to Mark, Ryan, Joe, to Lily, to Jillian, Elise, and Trisha. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been just absolutely phenomenal, and it would not have happened without your guys' help. And a couple of shout outs before we end. Number one is to keep an eye out for Why Education, which will be a podcast done by Mark coming up in this next year. And another thing to look out for.
You guys should check out our Spotify at Hornet Radio. There will be a compilation of all the songs that you heard about today so that you can listen through and really understand why everyone picked them.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye out for that. Heart it, favorite it, whatever. Save it on your Spotify accounts. And then also the last thing is to stick around real quick while we do the live premiere for my video, the Hornet Radio Golden Record Series, Music to the Stars. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you